Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher. And in times of personal upheaval, times when things in my life have not worked out the way I wanted them to, and I'm feeling a moment of crisis, my tendency is always to go in and reflect and to try to gain more understanding from what this particular circumstance and series of events is teaching me, even though it doesn't feel good at the time. And YouTube, the videos on YouTube, the content, the information, there's usually something interesting that I'm drawn to, that I feel a resonance with. And I'm sure other people feel the same, hence the popularity of this platform. And I was looking up videos on empaths, and the Aramonic YouTube algorithm directed me to videos on INFJs. So for those not in the know, INFJ is a personality type of the Myers-Briggs personality test. It's a pretty commonly used psychological test to examine people's ways of perceiving the world. And though I am fundamentally opposed to simply reducing people to labels and a series of letters and numbers, this label of me was actually, a lot of it's pretty dead on, the INFJ personality type. And evidently, the INFJ is the rarest of the combinations that you can get with the Myers-Briggs test. And again, for those not in the know, the I is introverted, the N is intuitive, the F, feeling, and the J is judging or judgment. And it's an interesting personality type because you have these very feminine orientations or softer orientations, the introverted, intuitive, feeling, and then you have more of a yang, a hard judging on the other side. And it's a very rare combination. So I'm told. And a lot of what I saw in these videos, what was dead on with me, and anybody who's interested in learning about INFJ, you watch my videos and you'll see how I relate to the world, and you can compare these videos with some of these other videos. You hear me talk about my disdain for people and my disdain for convention. And to some people on the surface it can sound a little bit sociopathic, but that's the disdain for people in general is a common trait of this personality type, this combo. And a lot of why that is INFJs are just very deep people. We get our energy from meaningful relationships, and much of what the Matrix offers are very shallow surface relationships that people like me find draining and find to be a waste of my time. And when we're constantly put in situations where we're very competent and can go out there and do it, but we're usually seeing things a few steps beyond most people just because of our intuitive nature. They say INFJs are psychic, or at least resemble the powers of psychics, because our intuition is usually dead on, and we can somewhat see into the future. We can see how characteristics around us and how events lead up to an outcome, and usually we're dead on with what we're seeing. And when we're around people who just can't see beyond their nose, it's really draining. And especially if we're in a situation where those people think they have some kind of power or authority over us, we don't respond too well to that. So there's this disdain for convention, disdain for people, disdain for being told what to do, and that is dead on. And I know two other INFJs. One was a former friend, the other a former lover. And when I say former, it's just really interesting because the events of 2020 with COVID-19 and the split that we saw in the world, they went one way, I went the other. And our values were on this opposite side. And one of the traits with an INFJ too is when we feel betrayed, when we feel someone is not respecting us, is not hearing us, not seeing us, that we have let into our space, that we've let into our heart space, which, again, we do not let many into this sacred place. This is a sacred place for us. So when we have given someone our full attention, then and we feel like they have misused that or betrayed it or abused it, then we kick them out. And it can be pretty violent, pretty sudden. You can just you can see it's like, wow, it looks like this is a person is just transforming before my eyes. Because once we feel that, we push you out of the space, and it can be just abrupt and jarring for people. But evidently that's something that's very common with this personality trait, and that's definitely been my experience. Or people who I've had in my heart space, I've welcomed in, and when I felt that I could no longer trust them, I kick them out. And they know it when I kick them out. I'm not subtle about it. And it usually hurts. Doesn't necessarily feel good for me, but it really hurts them, because the compassion or the warmth that I was giving them, is they're no longer getting that. And again, because INFJs are rare, it's not likely they're going to find someone else that's going to be able to offer what I offered, and that loss is always felt. And that is how it goes. Anyway, I'm rambling on long, but once again, anybody, if you're interested in seeing the thought process of an INFJ, just look at my videos. Look at how I'm seeing the world, and you can compare that. If you are another INFJ, or if you know them in your life, you can compare that with your own experience. And again, it's, my soul, who I am, is not this series of letters. I'm beyond that, and we are all more than that. We're a point of awareness in an infinite stream of consciousness, as David Icke would say. But this particular series of letters is not too far off, at least in how this point of consciousness perceives himself and the world. Be well, my friends. I'll see you on the other side.